My name's Glen. I live in Southwark in a flat and I've lived here for about 2 years. The flat's been really nice. I've had a couple of things that I've wanted to do, but unfortunately my gas boiler broke just before Christmas, and I looked into having a gas boiler just to replace that same gas boiler, but because I live in a block of flats on the second floor, my flues have to exit up through another flat, and there's restrictions that have come into place to do with the property laws and so on that mean that I couldn't do that. So my only option with a gas boiler was to have it going out through a flue which went through my living room, which wasn't particularly appealing. I knew I'd need to go with an electric boiler. I researched a number of electric boilers. I also had a look at the companies that install them, and I knew that London Boiler Company did that on the basis of my research. There were loads of different options out there, but for my flat it looked as if the HRA heater Sadia version would have been sort of the best. And when Ian came around and quoted, he actually suggested that's probably most appropriate given the size of my flat and given what my likely usage was. So I got a quote from the London Boiler Company and 2 other companies, and I was very pleasantly surprised to find out that the quote was not just competitive, but it was actually the most reasonable off the 3 quotes. When the gents came around and installed the new boiler, we discussed where was the right location for it, because obviously I wanted it as hidden as possible, and they were really good in kind of suggesting a position that would make it least intrusive as possible and that I could kind of cover when I then had my kitchen redone at some point. And when they did install it, then there was quite an obvious vacant space above it that I kind of, in a small kitchen, I thought, well actually I could use that space. So when the electrician came over to install that, I asked him if it would be possible to put, cheekily, like a plug point above the item as well so that I could put something else there. And really good, like he sort of said, oh, like he thought about it because obviously there's a lot of connections, and he installed a plug point for allowing me to put a microwave on top of it as well. So, you know, brilliant. Like, I was really pleased that they were able to do that. So the boiler I had installed is a heat-ray Sadia. I have to say I was a bit cautious about having an electric boiler installed originally, but it's quiet, it doesn't make any noise, and it does exactly the same things that my gas boiler used to do. You know, it heats the water is, actually I get really good flow through it, better flow than I used to get with my previous boiler. The water's easily hot enough. I to date have never run out of hot water given the tank, and the flat is, you know, it's got wet central heating and it continues to be as hot as I would ever need it. So thoroughly pleased with it, and also I might add, my electricity bills aren't much different added together compared to what the electricity and gas were. It's probably a little bit less actually. I'm quite particular as an individual, and I am really bothered about how things are installed and how things are finished, and also quite interested in, you know, Dad's an engineer, so I'm quite interested in what things are, how they work. And I have to say, Ian's team first of all installed the thing really well, to a very high standard. I would not be concerned now in hindsight about having an electric boiler at all. I would still recommend people go with a company that's installed these kind of things before, because they are relatively new to market, but I've got full confidence in Ian's team and I'd happily recommend them to other people.